Good morning. This is
Good
Dr.
morning.
Hashim from the English Language Center. I would like to present to you Dr. Bassam Alhamad, and he is from the University of Bahrain. Dr. Bassam Alhamad is a member of the National Qualification Framework NQF Advisory Board. He is the former director of the Quality Assurance and Accreditation Center QAAC at the University of Bahrain. Dr. Alhamad holds a PhD degree in Process Systems Engineering. He is also a member of the Education Committee in the Bahrain Chambers of Commerce. He published 2 UNESCO books in the field of quality in higher education. Dr. Alhamad acted as an assessor and evaluator and provided consultancy for more than 20 government ministries and organizations in Bahrain as a part of the Excellence Program. Dr. Alhamad is with us today to talk about enhancing employability through student empowerment in the light of the economical challenges and pandemic of COVID-19. Dr. Alhamad, it is a pleasure to have you with us today.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be with you today. It's a very pleasant day today, and we hope for the best, inshallah.
Yes, and we have like 250 participants who are really interested in your presentation. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So welcome all. Welcome everyone. So today we are going to be having a talk before Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala ashrafil anbiya wa sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So we're going to start talking about student empowerment. And actually, like, if you think about it, like we had in University of Bahrain, we had the word employability had been there, and we had an employability framework of how to enhance the quality skills and the learning skills and the employability skills, all that types of skills, transferable skills, critical thinking skills. However, now we are shifting. Instead of thinking about that, we are responsible to build these employability skills to student empowerment, especially that we are going to have many challenges in future. We're talking about economical challenges. Hopefully we are overcoming the pandemic of COVID-19, but the economical challenges are going to always be there. So what was the shift that happened to University of Bahrain, going from just having a generic framework to student empowerment? And we're going to have a look at that in our presentation. Well, this is how we started, like a few years back in 2012, 2013, 14. We had been changing so forth and so on. We collect always the information from World Economic Forum. We look at article papers, the OECD. We also had a study in Bahrain by the ILES group talking about what are the employability skills. And I do agree with the last author talking about that it should be part of the learning process. And this is where the big change is going to be happening inside the university. And we also look at Bates.com. It is some kind of generic future skills mentioned in talking about what are the main skills in specific in GCC. And then it goes in specific to every country. So I think so you're also all going to get good gain about it. Temkeen is one of the organizations in Bahrain where they support the students to be employed. So they support the financial part so that they train in the field that they feel that they will be competent. So maybe he's already in the market, but he needs to take some kind of a specific certificates such as CPA, CFA, or ACCA, and so on. So Temkeen supports, and now Temkeen had run a study, and through their study, they have identified also a group of employability skills. Higher Education Council, they did the same. They identified some skills as well, talking about universities, and also the Labor Market Regulatory Authority in Bahrain, they also had done a study talking about the employability skills. Now, you just can't see, like, everyone is talking about it, right? Everywhere, they're just talking about the employability skills. I don't know how we are going to cope with that. Like, it sounds like impossible to be having everything in the university talking about all those skills. And I think so you also went to the top 10 skills mentioned within the World Economic Forum for this year, and they are talking about the top 10 skills of 2025. All what I have mentioned now in just 2 minutes is like you already said that. Okay, we already know that. Like what you want to tell us exactly? I just want to tell you that what we are going through, which is very similar to many other organizations. So what we have done a few years back, and I'm then going to tell you what we are doing now. So a few years back, we have collected all the employability skills, and actually we identified the main skills. We cannot just go through ever mentioning all the skills. And we have mentioned a group of skills. And actually all of these group of skills, they are few of many. I'm just telling them that they are few of many. They are much more than that, which means that even though that we are concentrating on those main skills, we are still lacking many other skills that are important. In fact, these skills are important, but they are different for different specializations, which also creates another dilemma where we are going to talk about what are the main skills that we could talk about engineering, or what are the main skills when we go to business programs. They are totally different. Or cannot say totally different, but they will range. Definitely an IT skill for someone who's going to be a BSc in management is going to be different than an IT skill for one who's going to be BSc in computer science, right? Or BSc in engineering. They're going to be different. So what I'm trying to say here that we, from a few years back, we have collected all the employability skills, and we have identified the common important skills based on the studies, and we have selected the common ones. So communication skills was a common thing, like, and ICT skills was a common thing, and teamwork skills was a common thing, and so on. However, you can see passionate was only mentioned by Bates.com. It was not mentioned by all the others. But I would mention later in my presentation that values are very important, and I don't know what's happened, but people started forgetting about values in employability skills, and this is very surprising, and it should come back. It's very important. So this is what we have done as part of our study, and then we said, okay, we have a group of skills. What can we achieve from those skills to be part of the learning, to be part of the curricular activities? And what are the other skills which we could achieve in the extracurricular activities through student unions and student clubs and so on? So this was our framework and our plan, and we managed actually to do a good job, and we had a high rate of satisfaction from employers. In specific, we are covering the curricular part and the extracurricular part, and I will explain maybe later details about extracurricular when I get to my new framework that we are planning to have at the University of Bahrain. And actually, I know there are many slides you're going to look at here, and you're going to say, oh wow, what do you want to say about that? These are the policies at the University of Bahrain. Okay, what do you want to tell us? These policies, they started covering some details in the academic staff bylaws and the student clubs bylaws, so that we can incorporate the employability skills to be part of those policies. If we are serious about it, it needs to be part of the governance. So that is the main part what I'm trying to present here. And actually, if you look at the Metro curriculum here, and this Metro curriculum talks about that if you want to develop a curriculum, you just don't develop it by building a curriculum and that's it. The academic committee meets and they approve it and everything is perfect. No, it's actually more than that. It should go through a market rationale in the program. It should go through a market rationale. And actually, market rationale, that means there are a lot of studies that should be part of the program, where we need to look at the demand in the market, because we cannot just accept hundreds of students in a program, and we know that the demand in market is just tens. And we need to look at the professional bodies to tell us what are the main attributes that should be part of this program, and so on. So what we are trying to do here, we are trying to say that we are building we are building a kind of a framework in developing this curriculum where it goes from 1 to 8, and it includes the market rational, it includes the NQF, and NQF specifies at what level it's going to be. And of course, we need to design then the curriculum, and as you can see here, design the curriculum, design the assessment, so that we can be to that level of developing our program to achieve our employability skills, right? To achieve our employability skills. Okay, uh, well, all of this was part of what we have done at some time ago. And then we started thinking, oh my God, like, I think the student is very much dependent on us, and we are somehow not achieving one of the main skills, which is talking about the independent skills, and they have the initiative, they do things by themselves. And to be part of the advanced world, we need to have our students to have this kind of skills. And by that, we said, okay, it means that we should not only drive them. It's not only the demand which also should drive. We should work on empowering the students. Empowering the student, that means he should have the power. He should have the power of all the skills. And I'm going to explain that in 2 slides. So looking at the demand also drives things, right? The demand also drives the enrollment and graduation trends. And sometimes we are doing good with employability skills, but the demand also stops at some place and tells us, stop, you need to look at the demand here. I don't have a place for your students or for your graduates. So it was really tough to think about how to change our framework. We try to align curricula with employer needs. We have more diverse programs, like a program with minors and tracks. We try to increase the workforce through experience and training. However, we have a problem here. I don't mean a problem, but we need to enhance it. Provide information about careers. That means the student who gets into chemical engineering program, he should know what are the careers that are open for him or her in that program. And very similar for students who are getting into business, they need to know what are the careers for business. And those who are entering CS, computer science, they need to know what are the careers in CS. But imagine that those students who are entering those programs, they don't know the careers. They don't know it. They never heard about it. They don't know that IT is talking about security, and they're talking about development, and they're talking about networking. They don't know about it. Imagine that. So that was our early framework that we are talking about. It had governance, employability skills, and inputs and resources. And I'm not going to spend a lot here because I need to show you now the new framework, okay? Then, so that is the shape of our new framework, where we are talking about we need to empower the students. That means the students should have the skills. He's empowered or she's empowered without returning back to the university. They have all the things in their hands. And I know there's a lot to explain here, so I'll try to go faster just to grab most of what I'm trying to achieve in my presentation. So to empower the students, a part of it is the academic life. So we know that we need to do a lot in the academic life, and we already know this. We teach him, we teach her knowledge, skills, and competence, and we also try to align some programs and give him a real experience of what is in the real life, but still academic, right? He needs to go there in the place of the workplace. And this is the challenge where you need to have real life skills. And that is the challenge where we have at the academic life. So academic life by itself is not enough. Maybe we want to extend this to provide the students with some certificates. Well, the certificates would provide the students with more exposure to what are the careers in the future. And actually it adds a value to just having a certificate in BSc degree. They are going to have some additional certificates related to some kind of occupation licenses. What else do we have? We have exposure and networking. The students need to network. When they graduate from the university, they already need to have their network beforehand. It's not that they build their network after they graduate. That's too late. Okay. Number 4, the students need to get into student activities. Having a teamwork in a group of 3 for an assignment or a project is totally different having a teamwork to manage one of the conferences, which is part of the students' activities. It definitely is different. There are money skills or budgeting, and there are personal effectiveness skills, talking to the students of different majors, of different perspectives. And so there are a lot of things that students could learn there at student activities. What else? Students should be empowered through the work-based learning. And I'm going to explain that in a moment because there are a lot of details to discuss. What else do we have? The students should be empowered through career services. And to be honest with you, we have career office at the University of Bahrain, but I think so they need to do much more. They need to do much more. And actually, it's not only at the University of Bahrain. We are talking about all other universities. They are still fixing career services with how to write a CV, how to do an interview. That is not enough. That is not enough. It's much more deeper than that. Do the students have a continuous professional development hours? I think so. All of us heard about the CPD hours after leaving the university. But how about if they have CPD hours within the university? We need to think about it. What about the skills passport? Well, Australia, they are building the skills passport for the students, where the students, when he goes and he wants to get a credit, not only for his study, but he wants to get a credit for his community service. He wants to get a credit for the volunteer work. He wants to get a credit for the family business. So how can we incorporate that so that when he goes to get recruited in one of the companies, he can show his skills passport and not only the transcript? And what about the progression? Maybe the student, he knows where's the career pathway, but by the way, many of the students, they don't know the progression of that pathway. They know one part of it, but they know security, which is part of CS, but they don't know what is later. So it's also important for the students to know what is the progression. Now, all what I have mentioned was just the explanation in brief. And actually, there are more details that we can talk about. And I know 20 minutes is not that enough to explain, but I'm just trying to cover the framework from this different perspective. It is more important to empower the students with those skills rather than depending on us to do it. So most of us, we cover the academic life, but to be honest with you, the academic life is much, much more than what we think. It's about personal effectiveness, academic workplace, industry-wide technical, industry sector technical competencies. All those competencies should be part of academic life. If they are not, that means we have a problem. And not only that, the students who enter to our program, sometimes there's a problem with the entry part. And this is where we need to do, to empower the students to what? To try to align them to their major specialization. Using what? Using the psychometric tests, where the students know, the student knows their type. So if he is a type of the ENFP, he knows what kind of the possible majors that he can enter, which is related to his or her personality type. Imagine that in academic life, just imagine in academic life, looking at this picture, that the student is going to work in an industry. And actually, this is not an industry. This is inside a university. Imagine that the student wears a helmet, he wears the safety shoes, and he goes inside and looks at the reactors and so on. Imagine that experience inside the university. Things should change. And things should change at the university level. The students should think about not only BSc certificates, they need to think about the other certificates. And actually, today, in UK, in Australia, and even in US, they have certificates called certificates of employability or employability modules. So the students could attend some certificates in employability so that they add some additional skills like presentation skills, teamwork skills to make them ready for the market. What about exposure and networking? Exposure and networking is, well, you see the students, if we don't help him to empower him with the network before graduating, that means it's too late. So the students need to sit with the alumni employers. They need to go to conferences. They need to go to the workplace. And of course, they need to have initial contacts with the employers. And of course, doing all this, it needs some kind of an advice and a support and some kind of counseling. But if we don't do this, we are not empowering the students. It's not enough that they have critical thinking skills. They need to have the network. And it's not only that, they also need to build their capabilities through student activities. I think so, I already explained that. Now let me talk about work-based learning in about 2 minutes because I'm running out of time. So the work-based learning, there are many different ideas that are over worldwide. So there's something called the Professional Identity Handbook, which mentions exactly what each professional needs. And you're telling the student what is your professional future. And there are some examples in many different countries in which they increase the training period. Rather than being 2 months, it goes to 6 months as internships, and it goes to 1 year as apprenticeships. Do we have this? At University of Bahrain, we don't have apprenticeships, but why don't we can have something? If medical programs, they have students getting into the hospital, which is very sensitive, and they can make it. So why it can't work for engineers? Why it can't work for psychology? Why it can't work for someone working in business programs? It can, but we need to make it possible. What do we mean by microplacement? Microplacement is something good. That means they go for about 6 weeks in a certain place where it is out of the curriculum, but they are getting some kind of idea about the workplace. And I think so in the University of Bahrain, we can make it because we have a very big environment for that. And so on. We can have a structured workplace learning. We can have speed events. Oh my God, that's good. I like this. The speed events, recruitment events, is like 3 days in which students write their CVs and they get interviews with the HR managers, and then they tell them if they are employed virtually or not, and they get all the whole experience. And so we need to change our way of looking at how to empower the students. The students need to look at what are the future careers in their life. And career services is not only we are talking about what the students should do as interviews, or what the students should do as writing CVs. It's more about career services to tell him what are the licenses related to his or her occupation. And to give them a very straight path, clear path about their career in the future. I know there are more details here that I want to talk. It's about professional monitoring, where students take about 6 months to 2 years, where they have monitor for about for 2 years. Just running here, this is one of the examples of how we can see a tree of career service. So one, he knows that he could progress from a technical support to a technical support manager, or he could progress from technical support to analyst to senior analyst. We need to build this tree for career services. Just skipping. Okay, and this is an example. I think so. If you just click on this link and you have a look, this is a career guide for 2021. TAFE is a technical, and I can't remember the second word, but it's a government organization in Australia, where it tells the student the path of their career and what are the courses they can take. And actually, it's not only courses. They start with the micro-credentials. Micro-credentials is like small credits, and they join these credits together, And by joining these credits together, they get to a level to get a whole bunch of credits that attributes or contributes to one program, and they can be employed. And this is about continuous professional development. I think so. I have mentioned about that. Skills passport. This is in Australia. I already mentioned that, where students have skills matrix and they need to achieve the skills. And they can achieve it also through their community, family, volunteer work, and employers. And actually, Australia, they are identifying some national skills for the students. And I'm talking about students before they get to the university. Okay, so imagine the students is just collecting those skills, and he knows what kind of skills he needs or she needs in the future. But we all need to know that students' empowerment should not forget the values. Values is part of it. And I feel sorry that most of the 21st century skills, they are missing out the values. They don't have integrity, they don't mention integrity, or they don't mention care and love or loyalty or honesty. I'm surprised. I'm really surprised. We need to know the values or motives to be part of it. I think so. I'm going to go and conclude. So this is what we need to have for the students' empowerment. We need to satisfy all the related, the blue parts that you can see here related to academic life, where students need to study inside the class. You need to align them to their personality, so that they select the right specialization, and you need to give them the real experience life. And of course, innovation and entrepreneurship, which is part of many students. We need specific programs for those students. They need to know what are the certificates in future. They need to incorporate in student activities. They need to have the network before leaving the university. They need to get incorporated inside the work, either through micro placement 6 months, or 3 days of speed recruitment events, or 2 months of structured workplace learning, or 6 to 1 year through apprenticeships. They need to have something like that. Or they could have a real life experience inside the university. They need to count the number of development professional hours from now. They need to know what are the skills that are needed nationally, and what are the skills that they're collecting. They need to collect it. They need to have a passport for that. And of course, they need to look at what are the future services, pathways, and progression for the career. Thank you very much. Sorry for taking more time than needed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bassam. Thank you for this amazing, beneficial presentation where everybody here can relate to. Now, I have a few questions for you. So let's start with Ms. Intisar Al-Haj. She's asking, do you think there should be a mediating learning or life knowledge body between higher education bodies and the work arena, in which the graduates will have more knowledge about work life? I mean, an intra-stage between the two stages?
Well, what I'm trying to say here now, it's either you bring the whole life experience inside the university, so that you can make it possible. And what I had shown you, that the big plant, this is a real plant that will happen in Polytechnic in Bahrain. So I'm not talking about something from out of the box. This is already purchased and is going to be there. So it's either you bring this life experience inside into your academic life, which is still not enough, or the students could go have a full 1-year apprenticeships, very similar to many engineering programs in Germany. But we need to empower the students by other ways, but not having any link with industries, and just having the students sitting in the class without all those links. I think so there's a problem here, and we need to overcome it.
Exactly. Thank you, Dr. Bassam. We have another question by Dr. Mona Ghous. She's asking, she says, the ideas of skills passport is quite novel and indeed interesting. And she says, who issues these passports?
Actually, this is an initiative by the Australian government, supported by TICSA. TICSA is the Tertiary Education. It is something like Higher Education Council in Bahrain. Okay, so they're the ones who developed those national skills. And of course, they did not develop them by themselves. They sat with the employers and they started developing those 21st century skills. And it's not only one skill. There's one skill, and this skill is divided also into 5 other skills, sub skills. So you're talking about a group of 100 skills, for example, and you have the skills passport where a student is ticking and he's putting the attached document where he's achieving those skills. And then when he goes for the interview, he has those skills. And to be part of it, now the Australian government, they are discussing about do students need to have the skills passport when they submit their request to be recruited or not. We all know that to be recruited, we need to have a CV. Well, can we think about CV plus a skills passport? So imagine that they are talking to that level. So we need to change the way of how to empower the student and make this possible. And I would say that would be the responsibility of the Higher Education Council. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Bassam. Well, we have tons of questions. Unfortunately, our time is up. Maybe we can forward those questions for you. And this is a recorded session, so whoever missed anything will be able to watch it again. Thank you, Dr. Bassam, for your time. We will be taking a 15 minutes break now, and we will resume this session at 11:30. Please stay with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I thank everyone. Dosari, Donald Stop, Munal Quz, Thamin Ansari, Al Anud Al Budari, Donna Burnett, and I just thank all of them because their names are there in the question. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.